Helen, I have a couple of heirloom peonies here, and not all heirloom plants are disease resistant, as I have found out.
Barbara, what is an heirloom plant exactly?
Well, in this particular case, my good girlfriend, her family came to North America well over 200 years ago, and they brought with them plants from their garden in England.
Oh.
And this lovely old peony, which is a pretty white, is just, I love it.
Came from that original?
It came from the original
goodness.
plant. She's moved it, I don't know how many times. The original plant had been moved, and I have a portion of it, so I feel quite spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
And fortunate to have a piece of this lovely old piece of history of her family.
That's amazing.
Now, another thing you'll notice, that talking about the disease resistance, is that it is covered in mildew, which I have never seen before, and I think it's
that's
just
this kind of white stuff that's on it.
Exactly. Now, if
and I'm just actually, that plant beside it is also the same kind of plant, isn't it?
it is,
And you can see the difference in the colour.
that's right. It is. It's also a peony. It's also an heirloom peony, but this is a different variety, and it
Right.
appears to be disease resistant.
Right. So now we can see what we really mean by this
Exactly.
mildew.
Now, not to worry about what you can do. You can try a little solution of milk and baking soda, and sometimes you'll have a little bit of success with that. If my garden was on a garden tour, I would just be cutting this right back to the ground so that no one could see.
And is it a perennial?
It is a perennial. So
Silly question, it's 200 years old. Of course it's a perennial. It's been blossoming every year.
So far it has been. Anyway, because I'm not on a garden tour, and I find it's helpful to people to actually see these things in the garden, I'm just going to let it go.
Right.
And
So it won't do any harm to anything around it then?
no, it won't.
And is this because of the wet weather?
I think sometimes you'll find that you have mildew in dry weather, but in this particular case, I think because we haven't had it so wet, this case it's because of the wet.
But it's still beautiful.
Oh, it's
When you're
wonderful.
200 years old, you're allowed a little bit of license, right?
Absolutely.